welcome back to my video. Today we will be watching
Omori
this
is a story
video.
about pain, trauma,
This is called
forgiveness,
All
overcoming,
My.
acceptance, and so much
So
more that makes this story special. However, before the game was completely finished, there obviously had to be some twist in the story before its full release. So, how much did the story change, and could it have been completely different? Also, thanks to this comment for the idea. Now, there is one thing that I listed before the game even came about, which many of you already know about Omori Boy. Omori Boy started way back on December 2nd, 22nd of 2011, and it was a comic rather than a game. In terms of lore, though, there's not really much here other than the personality of Omori Boy, and his personality itself is somewhat like Omori Flex Sunny we know today. I'd say it's a bit more edgier and much more expressive compared to what we have today, although I feel there could be a better term than edgy, I just can't really come up with it right now. But there is a very interesting picture here on page 3 of the website, which shows Omori Boy laying down and saying, "It's all my fault." Now it could just be a coincidence, but could also be a reference to, you know what? Which, if it is, I think it shows at the very least the main points of Omori, such as the truth, were already established way before writing of the game even began. Also, there's another panel where Omori Boy mentions his mother said he has a disease, which I guess would apply also to his current version, and how the trauma from the truth affected him. One more thing I want to point out, for a guy who's called Omori Boy, he seems to do a lot of things an adult would do, like drinking and yeah, that. Anyway, moving on. One day, Omocat decided, hey, frick the comic, let's make this a whole game. And their team did just that, and got the game back incredibly quickly. The first major thing I want to look at...
I've got a question. Why are they basically... Why do they all have purple hair? They could have different kind of hair, man. One purple hair looks weird. Just don't know why. Let's carry on.
Look at from this time period is the original Omori trailer from 2014, which was almost 10 years ago. That is very crazy. Starting off, the trailer looks pretty normal. We got Omori in white space with a brief appearance from Ghost Marie. Then some more white space, more art, another Marie, and it goes on like this for a while. Then we see some kind of depressing text that says everything fine is just a distraction.
Is that the alphabet backwards? Is that just the... Is that a backwards alphabet? Number 1, that the A still looks like an A. When you just turn an A around, right, the capital one, right, it looks the same every single time you just turn it around. Same with the T, looks the exact same. The M looks the same if you turn it around. The I is exact same with that. Some letters, when you turn it around, so let's say right, it's not facing straight at you, right, then you just turn it around, right, so the other side face at you, right, you'll still look the same sum. The O will always be the same way, so just carry on.
How much the world actually sucks. Which I'm guessing is like what Sunny slash Omori was thinking at this point in time, which would make sense. He's kind of very depressed. After we see this cake falling apart, then we get to Headspace, which is very short-lived. And for a moment, we see the Black Space door. So this tells us that the idea of Black Space was indeed there in 2014. Finally, the beat drops and we arrive in the real world, where things get kind of crazy. First of all, we see a very different looking faraway town, which doesn't affect the story at all, I just kind of thought it was cool. Another small thing I want to point out is a really quick frame with what seems to be Marie with blood running down her face. This wouldn't really affect the current story much, but it could be a sign that the way Marie died could have been different from what we saw in the game. Either that, or we simply just saw what her face looked like after the truth. Right after that, we see something else pretty interesting, which is a row of houses, and then these guys. Now, this is something we almost never see in the actual game, so there's obviously something different.
Wait a second, does the floor look glitched to you guys? Just don't know why, just comment down below if it looks glitched to you, if the floor just looks weird, yeah. And this is my first time watching it. One of my comments in one of my other videos say watching it. Right now, and it seems pretty good and pretty. I don't know how to spell it, but it's pretty good. So number one, what the hair colours in the world you could have had is why you having black hair. I'm not judging about their hair though, but I'm just saying all the colours in the world they could have had, and they have black. Let's carry on.
After looking through the lore wiki for a bit, I did manage to find them. They're called Taco, Meido, and Umi. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because... Anyway, the thing is there's not really much about them. They apparently appear very briefly in the Hikikomori route, but they don't say anything, only disappearing after interacting with them. However, the fact that they were this early in the game and reappear as kind of small little Easter eggs in the current game kind of gives off the idea that perhaps at some point they were meant to be part of the main story. And
that was so tough.
since all of them appear in black space areas, there's a good chance that's where they would appear. Either there or Headspace, which is kind of where
Hey, oh, they're so close to each other. Look.
they seem to be in a
Hey, oh,
rural
they're
area.
so close to each other. Hey, yo, they're so close. Hey, yo, they're so close, man.
Trailer. But at the same time, this could just be a black space. Seeing as the houses are all in the middle of just nowhere, sitting in some grass for some reason. Now, what they could be for is a complete mystery, since as I said before,
Yo, that's the closest I've ever seen them be. Yeah, yo.
they don't really do anything in the current game. And we only see them for a second in the trailer. But hey, maybe that's another video idea right there. On to the final part of the 2014 trailer, where a whole bunch of text just flies right past you. There are two lines I want to focus on, which are, you're not crazy even if one person believes you, and too bad saving the world isn't as easy as these games make it out to be. The thing about these lines is that they don't really apply to the current story of Omori. There isn't a single time where Sunny or Omori seems crazy by telling his friend something unless that applies to the truth, which I kind of doubt. Nor is there a time where they try to save the whole world. So clearly, there is some kind of divide in the whole current story here. The question is, what do these lines mean and why were they put here in the trailer that's supposed to preview what the game is about? Now, one thing I can say for sure is that
Number one, whoever commented this, we thank you very much for commenting this. It sounds pretty good. I'll be watching more of these.
the world line has to apply to Headspace because I feel that's kind of a story someone would come up with. And based on the current game, the real world never really seems to be in any kind of danger. Honestly though, I feel like that would be pretty cool. A Headspace story where they have to save Headspace itself from some kind of greater danger. And now that I think about it, those three people we saw earlier might have something to do with this here. Perhaps these three are endangering Headspace, maybe in the same way Stranger was in the current game, and so they had to defeat them one by one and save Headspace.
That looks like
anyway, beyond that, we have to figure out what this line applies to, which honestly it could be for a lot of things. Because it would be Sunny talking about the truth, or Sunny talking about his Headspace hallucination. Maybe they manifested more in the original story, or maybe even some other thing that never made it to the final product. I think for sure it had some purpose, especially since it is in the trailer. But in the end, whatever was for most likely just got cut. Therefore, I have nothing to analyze here. The final thing I want to look at is the blog post, or a blog post, that happened during Omori's development on Kickstarter. So, there's this post about the origin of Omori, which is more of a personal thing to Omaka. It doesn't have to do much with the game lore. But in the post, there's a very interesting thing mentioned. There's a section where Omcat mentions Kickstarter goals for the game, and one of which includes extended side quests. In this paragraph, she says, if this stretch goal is reached, we'll be adding more daily quests, some extra kind of scary mini-boss, and at least 2 major hard-to-find side quest strings that involve multiple people in the town and may spawn alternate. Very interesting to me. At some point, they were planning to add side quests that could give you alternate endings in the game. Now, looking at the side quest now, this is obviously scrapped, but I'm pretty sure it will replace what we have now, which is basically getting flowers if you complete them through the true route. Still, though, imagine the possibilities of an alternate ending with extended side quests. I feel like it would be a pretty cool idea, but then I just imagine someone trying to complete the bonus. It's like, you did it, you did the game, wow. But, you want to know the biggest change in the Omori lore? Marie didn't have a time. Sadly, though, this is probably where I have to end the video. And that is because if you read this, it says there was a lot of secrecy behind the game during development, and of course, people outside the team probably knew nothing about what the game was about. Which is good for spoilers, but also very bad for this video. In short, it's pretty hard to find stuff on what Omori was originally about, when a lot of that stuff was kept a secret and in the end scrapped. But still, we did find a few things. There was a whole bunch of scrap content that could majorly change the story, alternate endings, and even hints that implied a whole nother story. And did I forget that Basil originally had a gun? So, in conclusion, I think Omori originally did have the big moments of the story planned out, like the truth and Black Space, but they also seemed to approach it in a different way before coming up with the final script that is now, the one that we have now. There's obviously a lot of scrap stuff in those alternate ending things, but overall I think the main idea stayed pretty much the same. And if there is, something that I missed, please do let me know in the comments, because I would very much like to know. I do feel terribly sorry for those who waited since 2011 though.
So guys, we're finished. So bye guys, welcome back to my next video whenever it's done. I don't know yet. So like, subscribe, maybe comment in my next video. Bye.